What I was afraid of is that maybe what they would try to stress a lot with the show, at least the first couple episodes, and they are kind of doing it here, is, oh, I don't get the new technology. It's all over the place. I don't understand it. I'm still trying to come to terms with it too. Like, for example, the laptop. He has a laptop. He knows how to work it. Because it makes you think that maybe he wasn't so out of touch as far as like clearly just working out all day and reading. He might have had some time in like a computer lab if they had that in the prison he was at, and learn how to use a computer, how to manage a laptop. I mean, I would think a luxury prison or like a lavish prison lifestyle would have entitled him to like learn how to use a Mac. I would think by default you learn how to use Windows and shit. Or like the very basic shit like the computer's always on, you don't get to turn it on yourself, and you learn how to send an email through, I don't know, Yahoo, Gmail, whatever you got available to you in prison. You know, shout out to all the guys doing their thing in prison. Lifelong, however short, long it is too, but stay safe and keep your buttholes tight. Don't let anybody in like that. Fight for your rights to not have your ass virginity taken from you. I kid, of course. But he takes to the laptop immediately, like nothing, and he knows how to look shit up immediately. He knows what Google is. I don't know if Tyson, the black dude that's now his driver, may have just, you know, put him on to all this shit immediately, or just by talking regular convo, you know, I'm driving you, so let me just teach you about Google, teach you about this, that, the other too. He's learning as he goes, but like, I'm still a little surprised he knows how to handle the computer on his own. Maybe he went in already in the jail knowing how to work a computer. I digress though. There is that. There's a lot of what's all this new tech shit, like I said already, but I hope it doesn't go past this second episode, maybe the third for some things, like maybe a joke here or there, but I think they're still gonna, I just hope they don't rely too heavily on that, like beyond the third episode. Like I'm still scratching my head, oh, how does this work? How do you make this work? Make sense of that? There's still a lot of things he's gonna try to figure out as time goes, but let's not focus too much in on the tech savvy shit or how untech savvy he is because of being in jail for 25 years. A good example of that will be when it's time to send his cut. I forget, every week or 2 weeks, he's got to send like $5,000 back home to New York, right? He's got to overnight it basically through the mail. So he goes to this, let's just say like a UPS store, FedEx store, whatever. I forget exactly what courier they featured right there. He goes there, package is bundled, the cash is hidden underneath clothes and shit. He takes it there. Guy gives him the price to overnight it to New York, and he's like, okay, he puts out his fat wad of cash. Obviously, cash is king for him. You'll see why it doesn't matter to the guy helping him, because he says, oh, sorry, but we don't take cash. And he's befuddled, like, wait, what do you mean you don't take cash? You don't take money? Is this like charity work? Like, no, we don't take cash. It's only credit and or debit, or I guess, you know, Apple Pay, whatever the fuck you got, Google Pay and shit too. So he's confused. Because he's like, how do you not take cash? Which for me too, honestly at this point, listen, I don't like to allude to being a boomer like that. I know I'm older. Obviously I haven't grown up, because you can see by the headpiece. But I still get befuddled when someplace tells me you don't take cash. I know the rarity now is to find something or somewhere that takes cash only, not cards. But vice versa, I haven't found any place like that yet myself. I have ran into situations where I do have cash. I like to pay with cash, but they're like, oh, we don't have coins to get back because they have change. We don't have small bills, so preferably, you know, credit, debit, or, you know, Apple Pay, whatever you got on you. So it is a bit of an inconvenience nowadays, but I think it's becoming more of the norm, at least here in New York. It's becoming too much of a norm, and annoyingly enough, the norm. So at some point, will cash be rendered useless? I mean, if you look at Bitcoin, I'm not here to talk about financial advice, don't take any from me, but Bitcoin has been dropping. A lot of those fucking cryptocurrencies, which I do have some investments put into them, have been tanking. Dogecoin's a whole fucking joke. I pulled out of that while it was still at a high, so I made some money back, but if you look at it now, it's like, wow. It's like absolutely useless or pointless. But I digress. So the guy, don't take anything cash from him. He's like, just credit, debit, Apple Pay, whatever you got on you. And he's confused. He's moaning and groaning about, what's with this world nowadays? You don't take cash. Have you never heard the phrase, cash is king? And the guy, mind you, You would think they would have casted someone younger, hip, cool looking, or at least no pot belly on him. But this guy looks older than him, is balding terribly, like at the point like I was at for a long while. Like, just cut that shit all off because it's pathetic, combing it sideways like 3 strands of hair like Homer Simpson and shit. Pimply, adult acne still. Maybe that's how they wanted to portray this guy looking younger, because they really could have honestly cast someone to look young and be like, oh, I don't know the phrase cash is king, or what's cash, I never heard of that shit. This guy looks worse than fucking Sylvester Stallone, and he's trying to be passed off as being the younger guy that's like hip to the game of today. Like, what's cash? I don't understand what cash is, boomer. So basically, again, him being age shame for being fresh out of jail and out of touch with society like that, where he has to pay a guy the cash he would have used to pay for his shipment, so that the other guy can use his card behind him to have his shit shipped out. So there's an example of that. It was funny, don't get me wrong, the interaction, but like casting wise, that's where I'm still kind of like confused by the show. Maybe they were too worried about getting Sly as the lead star, where they kind of worried as least as possible casting wise for everybody else. I mean, Tyson's good. The FBI agent is good too. I like that she's older, but I think they took it a little too far with how old she does look, or she looks on film at least, because there doesn't look to be too much of an age gap, as much as she alluded to in the first episode, character-wise. Obviously, she's still a good-looking woman, no doubt there, but in the wrong lighting, damn, she's showing her age. All right, there's that. Speaking of that lady, pretty lady, again, chef's kiss to her. I forget the actress's name in real life, but good-looking woman. You could tell when she was younger, whoo, she was a smoke show. But now we established from the first episode, she's the ops. As in, she's not FBI, she's not CIA, none of that shit. She's like some other department of like tobacco and alcohol. Naughty, don't do any of that in public, basically. So she's no fun, basically, because she's working for that as a living. She's an agent for that department. But now, she's at the point now where she's spying on him. She's like digging deep into databases, trying to find out more about him, see what he's about, even though she said, I gotta stay away from you, you're too old with your fucking dinosaur dick inside me. One time was enough. When you came, it felt like the earth was quaking, but then your dick was shaking and all it did was blow out dust. So thank God I'm not pregnant, because I'm too old anyway too. I'm not too old for you, but I'm also too old to fucking reproduce. Thank God my eggs are turned to dust anyway. You stabbed right through them. But she's doing all the research possible on him to find out more about him, you know, his rap sheet, everything he's done. She gets so oddly turned on by the fact that she reaches out to her connect, that pulls up his whole record, reads it back to her basically, and says, oh yeah, he killed while in jail, he killed outside of jail that led him to jail, and they try to flip him, she says, was it like 5 to 7 times, but he didn't snitch. So no Tekashi 6ix9ine support of or links to, he didn't snitch, he stayed quiet, did his bid, the full 25, and now he's out, as you've seen and as or you experienced firsthand, because 25 year deprived dick is what you got, and you got the experience firsthand. So tell me how it tastes. How does it feel? Because she definitely sucked them off. She's definitely stuck it in her ass. She's definitely put it back to finish everything off in a pussy. Unless 25 years deprived of pussy. I mean, there's only so much and so long you can beat off for before you crave the touch of another person. Whatever you prefer, you know, interaction wise, preference wise, I'm not here to judge. But if you've been in jail for 25 years and finally you get your first piece of ass, 1-2 days out of jail, I don't know how quick, I can't imagine how quick you fucking bust your load. And all on top of that too, there is the factor to consider that he's 75 years old in this role, or this character is at least. So it might take a while to get it up, it might take a while to keep it up, and once it's in and up and stuck, I guess presumably, how long it takes before he goes, oh, or you know how Stallone goes, oh, whatever he does. But she's obsessed with him, and she's turned on by his no snitching policy, life policy basically. He didn't give anybody up. He did his fucking bid, quiet as a church mouse, and left after 25 years. And she has the nerve to say, even though she swore him off, she says, you know what? It shows integrity. He didn't fucking snitch. So she really wouldn't have been a fan of Tekashi 6ix9ine. And we're not here to talk about him either, but fuck him anyway. He's like a no-talent hack. But it goes to show you how confusing women can be, honestly. let's be honest in that case. She loves the fact that he has enough integrity to not snitch. Okay, bitch, that's why, you're lonely at the age you are, because you don't know what the fuck you want, or if it's even right for you, better yet said. Now, there's a funny part that comes up, playing into the fact that him being so out of touch with, modern day technology, or just society in general too, having been locked up. He's at the crosswalk, being a New Yorker, just like I know too. The last thing you do at the crosswalk or at the light is wait to cross. When the coast is clear, no traffic coming in from either side, you just cross that bitch. It's like second-hand nature to any New Yorker, as he is playing the character here too on the show. It's also like there's no such thing as jaywalking here, because the police, you can do it dead in front of the police and they won't even bat an eye. They won't even look. And I'm talking about pre-pandemic too. For as long as I've existed, I've crossed with a red light against me, jaywalked, whatever you want to call it, in front of the police too. Well, then again, my complexion, I guess they won't really harass me too much. Unfortunately, that's also the truth of life. The cross I bear, being light-skinned, I get away with some things, not all, but some things. Jaywalk in front of them, they don't say a fucking thing. It's a funny part though, because he comes to one of these crosswalk things we have here now too, where you press it, you wait for it to change, and if you're not allowed to walk, the thing will say, wait, da-da-da-da-da-da, wait, da-da-da-da-da-da. Sounds extra white, to be honest, but I guess it matches the white guy that it's giving you the clear go as far as it's your turn, you're free to cross the street now. He's confused because he doesn't know where the sound's coming from when it hits him, but he's like, wait, I've been waiting my whole life. And I think that was just a funny little touch as far as like, it's new tech, he's being told to wait, but also he responds openly to the thing, I've been waiting my whole life, at the automated crosswalk voice. It was funny, but it's also deep as we go deeper into the episode, no pun intended, because he comes up to a part, I don't know if this really exists or if this is really the lore that goes hand in hand with this part of Oklahoma of all places, Tulsa, I'm guessing he's still in. There's a thing called the center of the universe, which is like a little, I guess, touristy spot you could probably call it. I love to see it in real life too myself, just to see if this is legit, or probably reenact this whole scene of what he does here. I would assume it's called that because maybe geographically speaking, it is literally the center of the universe or the globe per se. I'll have to look it up afterwards. But there's a homeless lady that tells him, hey, that's the center of the universe. People stand there because apparently whatever you speak out loud at that one spot, there's a little circle like in the center of the place, no one can hear you. People go there to talk to God and speak their wishes or prayers out loud kind of thing. So he's like, yeah, all right, whatever, you fucking bum, wash your ass, scrub your face or something like that. I don't believe you, but he does it himself. He goes there, and I forgot what he said there. I didn't make notes of it, but, oh yeah, right, she says, oh, no one can hear you. So he's like talking out loud, can you hear me, to the homeless lady. She might be delusional, she might be crazy or a crackhead, but she doesn't hear him. When he's speaking out loud, hey, can you hear me, whatever. So he turns around at some point, and there's like a white horse just strolling on by. Not a unicorn, nothing on his fucking head. Just a plain old white fucking horse walking by across the street, trotting, doing his horse thing. I couldn't tell if it was him imagining that, or maybe Tulsa, Oklahoma is that rural, even in the city, where horses are just like walking freely on the streets. Like out here in Staten Island, like turkeys are just all over the place in one certain part of Staten Island. I don't know, could be that. They didn't really like give enough proof of either or, IRL or just imagining the whole thing. He sees the horse, he's kind of confused, and then he goes to the lady after he steps out of the center of the universe spot and says, hey, could you hear me? And she says again, hey, I told you, you can't hear a thing once you're in there, so are you crazy or am I the crazy one? Whatever. He tries to pay her off. She's like, I'm not taking any of your scuzzy money. I don't know what that meant really. Maybe she just knew or like kind of sniffed the mob ties out of him. So she didn't imagine a homeless person turning down money whatsoever. Like a fresh fucking $100 bill. And only because she's got standards, I guess. Like, I don't want mob money. She fucking passes it off. But whatever. There's that. Now we go back to the COUGAR ops, who is admittedly a piece of ass. But also, you would think with somebody who holds a rank in like a, what would you call these things? Like a federal job, like a state job, like a, she's like high ranking police, I guess you could say. But the police that say no drinking, no smoking, so they don't want you to have fun at all. She's going to see a therapist. She's there in the office with the old guy who clearly she ain't fucking this guy because she's not that desperate. Or, you know, she's older but not bad looking still holding up pretty well. She's in therapy, rightfully so, because she got dumped by her ex-husband. Or they left amicably, whatever they want to call it. But basically she's divorced. So she's not with anybody right now. She's got to admit to him, hey, I met this guy way older than I am with dinosaur fossil fuel dick practically. I let him hit. I kind of regret it, but it felt so good inside me after a while. Like rearranged my organs and, you know, blowing the dust off my eggs and shit too. But what do I do basically? What do I do? And she admits too, it was the best dick I've had in my life. Regardless of the fact that he was already busting nuts and fingering cheerleaders by the time Kennedy got assassinated and popped in the head. She's all confused and befuddled by it. Rightfully so, but also if it's some of the best dick you had in your life too, and he wasn't a criminal, I would say just run back to him with open arms. But since he is a criminal, well, was a criminal, ex-felon, etc., as he likes to clear up too, maybe that's where she's confused. I mean, you know what, a dick every once in a while, some pussy every once in a while, no ties attached, or no strings attached, I guess you could say. Maybe not the worst thing in the world, but I guess, you know, tread lightly or carefully, whatever. There's that whole debacle. Now we move on to more of like he's been out of touch, out of society for so long, he doesn't understand the concept between a credit card or a debit card, because he says to his driver, the kid Tyson, it's like, hey, what do I do? Because basically no one's going to take my cash besides me being or looking like a mob stereotype, right? So he says, okay, get a debit card, because if you can't get a credit card and they won't let you, why not get a debit card? Basically, it's a bank card. You put money into the account. They give you a debit card to openly and freely use your money via a card. In that case, they go to the bank. Pretty funny, but also rings very oddly true. And this is why I would never bring anyone. You know what? For years now, it's been crazy, because you can't be seen anywhere with anybody of the same gender without someone having to assume, or not wanting to assume, their idea of being polite, that you're not just friends, or you just happen to be people hanging out with each other. You're not a couple. I've had that too many times already. Obviously, I have friends that are males. I used to have a friend. He turned out to be a little difficult, a little crazy, whatever, so like we kind of just cut ties and shit. We used to hang out a lot. Go to bars because his thing was drinking. I didn't drink so much as him. I just drank, you know, a little bit. You know, I'm one of those. Like, I drink enough. I'm not looking to drink like a fish. I kind of toss my shit aside. Or my trick would always be everything I drink, 1 glass of water right out of it. Kind of like the dilute, piss it right out, and then I'm good to go. I don't got to walk home stumbling, pissy drunk, whatever. But anytime we went anywhere together or hung out, because he wanted to hang out so much, people would assume we're fucking gay. I got nothing against the gay community. I got nothing against LGBTQ, whatever, but come on. This right here, this scene. The banker's a fucking nerd. The banker's a fucking dweeb. He's being a nice guy genuinely, but he does help him get his fucking shit. They got to go through a couple of different banks before they end up with this one dweeb at the bank who helps him get the fucking debit card, but only after he says, okay, we need some ID. You don't have legit ID. Your license expired from New York back in 1998, so we need some new ID. Do you have a passport? No, because I can't go nowhere. I'm an ex-felon, whatever. Okay, so now we got the whole ordeal of him having to go to fucking the DMV out in Oklahoma to get a license, which that's a whole funny part in itself too, because you'll see later on that he has to cheat or has to leer over someone else's test while taking the written driver's permit exam. I am one of those true blue New Yorkers. I didn't learn to drive and didn't get my license till way later on in life. But even I passed the written exam first time. Out the gate. No question. So, embarrassingly enough, I guess maybe if you were in jail 25 years and shit, but 97 to like 2022, maybe you forgot over time how to drive. But I think that's one of those skills you kind of pick up on immediately, and it doesn't leave you that quickly either. But for some reason, it's funny to look at. Like, he's like forcing the guy to like move his arm while he's copying from his written exam for the driver's permit. But the bank guy, for the fact that, you know, hey, he's helping him out. They go back once he gets the ID back and shit too. He's able to deposit the cash finally. He only waits till the second visit to be like, hey, you know what? I didn't want to assume, but are you guys going in each other's asses? Who's top, who's bottom kind of thing? Because the black dude at first, he's like confused, like, wait, did he just think we're gay after they left? He didn't even think of confronting him at that point when he said, hey, I didn't want to assume you guys, but hey, modern times, I guess, ha ha ha, whatever. That's kind of rude. To even fucking assume that, to even think like out loud or say it out loud, let alone, hey, I didn't want to assume, that's a new form of no disrespect, but it's literally shit on somebody because you think because they're two dudes, they're together, one's old, one's young, that's the sugar daddy, he's got a big black cock, he's fucking the old guy in the ass because that's what the old guy's into, and he's too ashamed of like having to buy a real doll or a really big dildo. He might as well settle for the real thing and pay him off. Obviously paying with dirty money, so why couldn't he afford a young, well-endowed black man to do so? Fuck that shit. Oh, of course, that's what's going on here, and I'm not going to be here to judge or preach to the crowd, but what the fuck? Have fun, you guys. Thank you for your business. Make sure, besides depositing your cum in his ass, or vice versa, however you fucking play, you deposit more and more and more of your money into our bank, because we need it. Have you seen fucking the economy tanking, the inflation and shit going on? In actuality, I'm not here to judge your money or your fucking ass play. It doesn't fucking matter. Shout out to Champion Crewneck, aka George, in real life. I'm not gonna snitch. You torture yourself watching Tulsa King, but don't want to play Helen Ray. Hey, listen, I'm enjoying Tulsa King, so it's not torture. I'm enjoying it, genuinely, it's good, but an AO BBC. Yes, I mean, listen, BBC comes up a lot, pause, because, or BBC comes out of my mouth a lot, pause, because it's a reality. It's something that, you know, if racists only knew what it was like to have one themselves, I can't speak for that, obviously. I think a lot of stuff will be handled fairly if they said, if you keep up that racist shit, all that hate-filled stuff comes out of your mouth, we're going to stuff your fucking mouth with a BBC to shut you up for good. I think if they had that threat looming, you know, since, you know, death penalty's been gone, depending on where you live, Texas, if we had that as an alternative solution to shut them up for good, I think they'd zip it. The KKK would cease to exist. All these nationalists and supremacists would fucking scatter into the woods and stay there like roaches because they're a plague anyway. I'm saying BBC could solve a lot of things if we had that looming over them like a carrot dangling over them. It's like, listen, you're going to get a mouthful of this and you'll shut the fuck up, basically. But that's what it is. No, wait, no. It's either going to be Kanye or Trump, whoever for 2024, or hopefully The Rock. Even though he's a terrible actor, at least he could pretend to be a good enough presidential candidate, or let alone a president. Why not? I mean, because, you know, Biden, whatever. But we're not here to talk politics. But with his fat sausage fingers, because, you know, you don't go to jail, spend 25 years and come out with like thin, artistic, creative, content creative fingers like me. These big brolic fucking caveman typing methods of his. He's typing away, punching away and shit. He already knows how to look up people's public records. I don't remember the name of the legit company they use. I've had to use it before, don't ask. Of looking up somebody's public records, where they live, phone number and shit too. They're always out of date, by the way. Don't ask me again how I know, but they're always out of date. They're like half a year late sometimes. He knows enough to fucking search up his daughter's information. Look her up, finds the shit, punches away with his fat sausage caveman fingers, finds her ass, pulls a number from the database, calls up the number, and he is able to do so. He gets a hold of the husband at home, so he's a good stay-at-home husband. That's what she married. So she's really mad at daddy for having up and left her, you know, to her own luck, as he admits doing so. Stay-at-home dad answers, the kids in the background screaming and crying, Daddy, you're such a fucking cuck, you're an incel, you're a fucking pussy. I thought mommy had the pussy, turns out you fucking have a butt pussy, whatever. Shut up, or whatever. It's like, hello? It's like, this is Manfredi. My daughter lives there. Can I speak to her? Whatever. And he runs over to the wife to get permission. Honey, I'm sorry. There's a guy saying he's your daddy. Besides, you what you call me in the bedroom. Could there be any fact? They tell him I don't want to fucking talk to him. He comes back to the phone like a good boy. He's like, sorry, she doesn't want to talk to you. He's like, listen, I need to speak to her. Can I at least hear her voice? I need something. Because for some reason he sounds like super lispy on the show. So as a good boy does, he runs over back to the wife and says, honey, I'm really sorry again. Forgive me. Please don't smack me too hard later on after the call's done. But he just wants to hear your voice if that's possible. So he's like, God damn it, you fucking cuck. Get the fuck out of my way. I'm gonna show you. Look, I'm gonna show him on the phone and shit. My dad, allegedly, and shit. So she comes on the phone. He says, hey, how you doing? Like nothing happened. She's like, you wanted to hear my voice? Like, yeah, sounds good. She's like, fine, you heard it. Click. Hangs up on his ass. So he knows how to fucking do all that shit. Work the laptop, dial the fucking phone on the touchscreen shit, most likely. Yeah, actually he did have an iPhone. So it might have been a MacBook if I watched it again. So I might have confused it for a Microsoft, whatever they call their fucking brand of laptops and shit. Oh yeah, too, and this is on top of the fact too that back in New York, he's being charged a tax of $100,000, from the family because he punched out one of the capos, one of the main guys' kids. That's supposed to be like his underling and shit, or basically who he has to respond to, because he's not, I think he is a capo himself, Manfredi, but he's only the capo in Oklahoma. But I guess even amongst the capos, he's like ranking under the capos and or the sons of his boss. So because he punched him out, and as we see also in the episode, he broke his jaw basically, he's got to pay a tax because the other guy wanted him dead for punching him out like that. So instead it says, no, we'll just collect on him really easy, $100,000, he's fucking tied to it. So it really wasn't worth it at the end of the day punching him out. But then again, he's got prison logic, having been there for 25 years. It's like if I moved to fucking Russia and stayed there for 25 years and come back here, how would I not be able to only think and or speak potentially Russian and shit too? But it wasn't worth it basically punching the guy out. But now on top of that too, he has a tax for doing so. So he really acted before he thought, better yet said. But I guess, prison mentality too, that's what took effect. He goes to see our boy Bodie, who's the owner and, the overseeing eye of the shit until it's time to collect money. Then he's like his bitch, his bank basically. He's talking to him about where he gets his shit from, his supplier. He tells him where. They said, all right, let's go, because they're like robbing you worse than I'm robbing you, basically. So we're going to go cut a better deal. They go to the fucking place he gets his shit from. They go to see the guy. Before they see the guy himself, though, apparently the guy has I forget, brother or cousin called Badface. This guy legitimately, Badface, has a mean grill on his face, like a way more sourpuss than I could ever put on here, because I guess I'm too cute with the hat. At least I've been told. But I don't do it for that. But he's got such a mean mug on him. But when they pan down and show the rest of his lanky ass body, he's built like a fucking string bean. There's no way I could take this guy seriously. I'm sorry. But again, he's built like a string bean. I don't know whether to pull some feather out of his fucking headband and start tickling his feet or his ass with it, or if he's gonna bop me over the head with like a peace pipe, basically. With that being said, he really doesn't look like a threat. He's just got a really mean fucking face. And he has a great joke for it, because instead of bad face, he keeps calling him like fuck face instead. So he counts him out as that shit. He demeans him basically like that. So they sit down, they fucking cut a deal as far as you know what, you're robbing my guy Bodie over here. We need to cut a better deal. What can we do? They talk it out, find the details. They come into an agreement. All in all, the guy was smart enough to fucking give him like a whole little jar of CBD infused peach apricot preserves or jam, whatever you call it. He's been eating the whole time. He's feeling real good about himself and in an actual good mood and shit to cut a deal. So the guy got him, suckered him into it. So all right, and then they show a whole part of their drive back to the office, presumably all the way back from the farm. He's high as a kite. He's making jokes with Bodie. He's pulling his roach away from him too. Do you want to smoke? Psych, smoke, psych, smoke, psych kind of thing. It's cool. It's funny and everything. But there's a great part he mentions as far as like, really, I think a lot of us who are kind of fed up with, I'm not going to say the community in general. That's not it. That's not what I'm trying to kick here. What I am fed up with is those that represent the LGBTQ community a little too loudly as far as trying to force it down your throat. Pause. No pun intended. Or trying to make you think that they're right, they have a right to exist, which they do. Absolutely. Freely, as much as they want to do, openly and shit too. I just don't agree, just like he's confused by and doesn't agree with, apparently, them doing it via force. Making their voice the loudest in the room just to be heard and acting like there aren't people that already accept them for who they are. I honestly don't give a shit. As long as you're not an asshole about it, as long as you're not a cunt about it, as long as you're not trying to just force kids to fucking taking everything to as is, or it's beautifully explained here because he's old, out of touch, been in jail for so long, 25 years to be exact. He's fresh out, cutting deals now for like a fucking weed dispensary of all cases, legally too. He's high as a kite off of CBD and shit, but he basically says, you know what my pronouns are? My pronoun is it, as in it can't take this shit anymore because he's confused. He doesn't know how to address people. Just like now, modern day times, like I legit get confused by how to address certain people. When I see they look a certain way, it's automatically a red flag for me. Like, don't say he, she, them, it, whatever. Try to get their name and try to address them by their name if possible, because it becomes this whole like fucking, I don't know what to fucking think no more. But then there they are, and I'm like, oh shit, maybe I even shouldn't say it in my head because it's going to come out of my mouth as they, them, it, bing, bang, boom, as he says it. I'm just it because I really do. I really am at the point like I'm sincerely confused, and I don't want to potentially offend nobody just because, but I also don't want to be a cuck. I also don't want to be a pussy just because I'm not going to say I'm scared to like address you, but I don't know how to address you or how you prefer to be addressed. If it's really come to the point where really, can you just wear name tags? Can you just wear like a label on your head or something or somewhere that visibly says, address me as he, she, them, it, they, thons, who, that, D, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, whatever. Just so that's out of the way and we can interact as needed. Something as simple as like going online to Starbucks, or I don't know, making short small talk on the bus, waiting for the bus or train. I don't know, but just something that helps us better. Like, you want to be labeled this, you want to be addressed as this. Let's get that out the way, and let's trim the fat off the meat and just get to the nitty gritty. Like, let's talk what we got to talk about. Let's do our negotiations, our business, etc., etc. But he explains that basically, I get it, being of a certain age and coming from a certain time where that shit didn't matter at all, or you didn't have to worry about that kind of thing. But now it just kind of blows up in your face if, God forbid, you're guilty of doing so. But he is right. I'm sorry. It's just a matter of, listen, there's nothing here for me to denounce against that community whatsoever. I got respect. I got a lesbian that I know of in my extended family, and or a cousin that's gay also. I don't really deal with either side of the family, not because they lean that way, but just I don't really deal with them. They live their own lives. I'm fine with it. I didn't care about it years ago when they came out. I don't care about it now either. But whatever, they're free to live their lives how they want. They end the episode by him going back to the spot where the center of the universe is, because after getting rejected by, and I'm guessing this is after, it makes sense too, after giving off his CBD infused high, he goes back to the center of the universe to basically make amends and openly say, I'm sorry. I guess, as the homeless lady said, in this case, he wants to speak to God, so he knows, he, she, it, them, whatever you believe in knows, hey, I'm sorry. Mainly about his daughter, because she just rejected his call and said, go fuck yourself, pretty much on the phone at least. He says, quote, I stopped seeing her because it was too hard on her. No, I stopped seeing her because it was too hard on me, referring to when his daughter would go to see him in jail, he said, he admitted at some point, I told her to stop coming because it would be too hard for her to deal with. But then he comes to terms, he's honest about it, like, no, it was too hard on me to see her out there. I'm on this side of the glass. I might never see her again, or she'll be too old to even appreciate me. And she has to keep coming up here to see me, wasting her time, you know, having to tell people, oh, my dad, making up excuses for him being in jail, instead of just saying flat out, my dad's in jail. Sorry, I just have to, you know, take my time and go see him in jail because that's where he's at. So he cut off all ties with her because of that. He can't help but feel guilty because of that. This is him openly expressing, pouring his heart out to the universe and or whoever's going to hear him at the center of the universe. I quit on you and I'm sorry. While standing, oddly enough, poetically enough, in the center of the universe to be heard. So it's deeper than that. So it turns out to be a really deep episode. Short. It's like 35 minutes, I think, in total, compared to the first one, which was like 45 minutes, I think. But there was a lot done. To give it a final score and or recap, this being the second episode and still enjoying it so far, I will say I'll give this one a 1.5. 1.5. Instead of 2 ears, I'm going to give it a 1.5, do it that way better. If I can get this fucking ear up, Amazon, out of 2. Only because I felt like the high he was on the drive back home was funny, was cute, whatever, of course. Kind of dragged out a little too long. Could have gotten to the point about like being confused about his like gender assuming and labeling and such a little quicker. That was the only drag for me. And I'm still a little confused about the horse that he sees the first time around while standing in the center of the universe. Was that a legit horse? Was that an imaginary horse? Was he seeing things? And the horse just doesn't even approach him. It's just like across the street, like trotting along, and like does this horse thing and just runs away, basically. There's no unicorn, there's no horn, so it's not a unicorn, not symbolic in that sense. But like, did he legit see a horse in Tulsa, or did he see it in his mind while he's stuck in the center of the universe? I don't know. That part confused me. The cougar ops lady, piece of ass, as she still is, holding up well, does seem at some point to basically tell him, hey, scumbag, reminder, if you do anything in this city of mine that I'm conveniently enough in charge of while you're here, hey, I'm going to know about it, but just letting you know, lay low if you can, because you're going to go back to jail if anything happens. And he's got to be like, well, I'm an ex-felon, I did my bid, I'm not doing anything. Of course he is, but she knows that too. But she's like, just giving him the courtesy of the doubt, like, hey, you gave me some good dick, so in return, I'm just giving you some tips and tricks on how to like stay out of trouble here in Tulsa of all places. Please, can you just listen to me? So hopefully, if you stay a good boy, we can fuck again. You'll get back in this pussy. Even though I'm not that much younger than you are, but still, I'm sure you need some steady pussy in your life at this point, since you're about to be fucking dead. You got 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot in my pussy, basically. That's how we play. We play rough.
Yo, it's over. All right, it's over. It's over. Move the mic. Move the mic.
Thank you.